Hey, hello, leavers and believers. Welcome back to Leaving Hillsong. My name's Tanya, and the exciting news that I've got today is that Grace is back. We got together to start recording her story because she's ready to go, and we decided to talk about a bit of news first, and ended up with a longer conversation. Now, not long after this recording, your good host here came down with COVID-19, and I'm feeling kind of tired now. So Grace is in full form, and there's a part 2, which, as long as I don't have to talk, should be out tomorrow. And stick around till the end of part 2, where I nail Grace down about her Hillsong history. We had a lot of fun with this, and I think you'll have a lot of fun too. So there's always been a lot to say. Grace, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Stranger, are you well? You were ill for a while there.
Yeah, been moving around too. Yeah, I know. The weeks have flown. I've missed the podcast, but I've been trying to catch up with the latest episodes, and yeah, it's been really, really good actually. It's been awesome to listen on. To jump back on and have a chat.
Good. It's nice to take a bit of a distance and then refresh, as it were. But I'm glad you're better. You were sick for a while there, and
yeah,
we did Pride in your absence, and Matthew did some co-hosting, but I know everyone's been missing you. So you were saying before, tell me, you had a bit of the old gossip. You had some updates for us, some more kind of inside information about some stuff, yeah?
I mean, it's good to try and stay on the pulse as much as possible without getting overly obsessive. Yeah, so I heard they at staff retreat. We are talking a couple months back now, but that Phil had invited a man from the States who had a bit of a prophetic ministry, and that was kind of the focus of retreat. And I heard it was a bit of an interesting experience, and it's kind of the avenue that Phil's trying to push. But apparently he kind of spent most of his time prophesying over people on the platform. So I think a lot of people in the congregation were a bit...
The leaders, you mean?
Yeah.
On the platform, sorry.
Well, all the worship team and people leading, like hosting or pastoring. Definitely the worship team. People who are also staff that weren't occupying the platform over the retreat weren't really, were probably a bit wondering what's this about. Like, everyone knows these people anyway. So anyway, apparently that's what it was, and it was confirmed that they were going to, the staff were encouraged to go out and drink and enjoy the wineries as well, and that's been for quite a few years. It was Brian's legacy, really, but I'm not sure about. I think it was already a pre-booked venue, so I'm not sure what will happen in the years to come, but it was definitely confirmed.
Why did they choose the Hunter Valley for a retreat, and for people outside of Australia or New South Wales?
All I could say,
wine growing area that's what it's known for.
Well, that's all I could say is that, yes, it was confirmed that they'd be encouraged to go out on their break times and just go and enjoy the wineries and stuff. And that's what Brian would say. But yeah, anyway, I don't know the circumstances around them continuing that venue for this year. I can only imagine it's been booked. I'm sure. I know what I've known in events world is you can book a venue 3 to 5 years in advance, especially when it's a venue that has got ongoing, it's ongoing contract, or they're the owner. So who knows? We'll just see what happens there. I did know that conference, there was an obligation to run it. The people who had tickets from 2020 were being honoured, that conference.
So you mean the yearly conference this year was held for the people that bought tickets, 2 years ago? And
yeah.
What if they didn't want to go anymore? Or
I don't know. I'd probably have to check the emails and see what they were offered. What I do know is there was a lot of tickets that people were trying to palm off and sell, probably at a loss as well. Apparently they're not making any money on that conference either. And people had some photos from the inside. Maybe they were looking onto people's social medias who were posting pictures of the service and stuff, that they were, you know, it's very empty. And overall, these same weekly services aren't really quite even filling the bowl of. So our church, Hills campus, has 3 tiers: a floor, a first tier, and a second tier, and they can't get quite beyond the first tier. So,
wow.
And that's on a Sunday PM service, when we used to pack the venue out, which packing out really can hit about 4,000 if you got all the extra chairs, but
at Hills,
and really jam
Hills,
in, and jam in the chairs. So I don't know what that would mean. I would imagine under 1,000, give or take, but they're only running one service in the morning and one service at night now. There's a lot of collapsed services. They're all been collapsed.
The conference has always been, and I remember a couple of years ago, so it must have been pre-COVID, a friend of mine was watching all the, you know, they had 24/7 coverage of the conference, or, you know, extensive coverage. And there was a Hillsong backstage thing, and she was telling me about, and it was all about pushing the college. And it made me realize that conference is pretty much, because it's an international,
yes,
that's the best time to advertise the college, because they're international students. It's a huge marketing exercise. So did they not use the students this year as volunteers? Is that?
Well, we all know that they've all lost a lot of money in the college budget because there's been significant less enrollments. They definitely have been deregulated, and if you are to do a Cert 4 in ministry or whatever, it is completely run by Alpha Crucis. So,
sorry, what do you mean deregulated?
They're not an authorised Australian training organisation anymore. They've lost their accreditation.
When did that happen?
It happened a while ago, but it's been confirmed and continued.
Hillsong lost training status.
Well, what had happened was, we all knew that the 4th year program was the degree program, and that was always run through Alpha Crucis because Hillsong wasn't able to actually run a degree program themselves. They aren't equipped and they don't fulfill the requirements. So we always knew 4th year was like, you're now enrolled with Alpha Crucis, but you're doing your whatever internship that we all know is not necessary to complete a degree, but you would be enrolled with Hillsong to do the internship, but you would actually be attending all Alpha Crucis. Now, church doesn't run any of the certificate 3, 4 diploma, sort of certificate 3, certificate 4, and then there's diploma, but it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd year. Now they're all covered under Alpha Crucis, which is...
Just explain quickly how the Alpha Crucis thing works, because I didn't understand it before. And Alpha Crucis is chaired by Mike Murphy, who was Brian's right-hand man for 11 years. He was, you know...
Robert was one of the lecturers as well. It's a university. It would probably be a memorandum of understanding. You're definitely asking me something that's beyond my... I've not looked onto their website.
They are a registered proper educational facility according to...
Yeah, they're a university. Yeah.
And then they accredit Hillsong courses, is that... Or they teach Hillsong courses?
No, they teach units that are accredited to the whatever board, Australian board that fulfill the requirements to then get a degree. But now, all the other courses that are below a degree, so a certificate for was it 4 or 5, 3 or 4, sorry, and diploma are now all covered under Alpha Crucis. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I mean, I'm sure you can go to the Alpha Crucis site to check. But the thing that I was about to say was, just recently, Hillsong College, I don't know how they're being able to still advertise as Hillsong College, but Hillsong College have jumped onto TikTok and they've been advertising for people to sign up. My suspicion is they're actually just running their own internships. That's what I suspect. That's just what bigger. That's my hunches, is that
I
they
don't know
actually
what you mean though. Like
an internship where you traineeship where you just rock up and you just serve 30 hours a week as if you work there, but you don't.
And they've done that before. They were charging people for internships, we found.
But it was part of college. So they justified it as you want to understand the ins and outs of the heart of Hillsong. You're going to study the courses that they were trained in, and they would put their own trainers in. Now, the problem is that Hillsong got audited. I don't know how long ago, maybe pre-COVID, the year of COVID, maybe 2019, they were actually getting audited, and a significant number of their trainers, surprise, surprise, weren't up to speed with the skills and qualifications required to be studying at that level. For example, you need a training and assessment certificate, which generally costs about $1,500 and takes about 6 months to complete, or to 12 months. And every single trainer should have had one of those. Same with a range of other things. Like, they've got to demonstrate skills and abilities that are of an exceptional standard. So you've got to be maybe about 5 years in this field before you can be teaching as if you're an expert. I mean, you can't just teach something that you just graduated from. So I think that was we all knew. I mean, a lot of college students were getting sponsored by church to then teach in college. And we're like, how can you teach? You just finished.
Wow.
You know, they were 2, 3, they were 2 years out, a year out. And so, we'll get you a job in college. I mean, any Tom, Dick and Harry could have been a trainer.
See, that's interesting. I was asked specifically in an interview this week, what is the standard of education like at the college? And I'm not familiar with the curriculum, so I couldn't.
Let's just tell you. And I've done some of the courses, so I know what it was like when I had done it. You might have to give a 500-word response of one question. Okay. It was like basic primary school stuff. You might give given 3 questions. You've got to write 300-word response on each of them. You either have a pass or fail. If you fail, you have to resubmit. And actually, they started charging you for resubmissions, $50 Aussie, and we never know where that money went.
Okay, so how comparable would it be to a theology degree that you might know of? I mean, how are they getting accredited then if it's not up to scratch? How's it gone on for so long?
Well, I don't know. Couldn't say. All I know is that it eventually got audited, and that partnership with Alpha Crucis occurred so that there was a degree pathway. Prior to that, they just went to Alpha Crucis. So then they were able to use Hillsong as an alternative campus to do the degree classes, if that makes sense. So they used Hillsong Hills campus as another campus to go and do your class, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it was like a pseudo school, like another pseudo campus. So then obviously now all of that's gone to crap, and a lot of students realized, this course actually doesn't get you anything in Australia. It doesn't mean really anything. So, but for some reason it seemed to have some sort of weight in church world, because people were like, oh wow, you did a 4-year internship at Hillsong, you're now ready to be a pastor of Hillsong Sweden or something, like they used it as it felt like a recruitment place. It turned into this breeding ground of new young whippersnapper pastors and wannabes who then end up playing the social ladder game and getting invited to go different places.
So once again, I've been a bit naive. I've been wondering this whole time, because Hillsong have been gumming behind the scenes to get their college to the level where they can offer PhDs, which is, pretty serious stuff. And I am wondering how it is comparable to the secular, outside, regular academic world, whereas I guess that's not important if you're only looking to impress other Pentecostals or, other churches.
Well, the thing is, the world of academia, you can't hop, skip and jump it. I mean, you need to have an established school that has a number of people with PhDs, but not just that, who have to, become associate professors, who become lecturers with multiple published research. You need to have a research career. You then need approval to be a PhD supervisor, which not any Tom, Dick and Harry can just be one. Just because you got a PhD doesn't mean you become a PhD supervisor. So there's a whole lot of checks and balances that you need to cover before you get anywhere near that level. I mean, I know that Mr. Crouch, Donna's husband, he's the chair of the board currently. He's got a doctorate. But, a lot of these people, they're in practice world. They don't continue their research. I mean, one thing I expected of Robert Ferguson was that he would go really into the research world. It's a shame about him, actually. I think he's shelved himself, or church has shelved him.
Yeah, look, he's got a degree in something quite unrelated to anything. I think it's zoology, his degree.
Yes, that's right.
And an English accent, and that's why he's impressive. And
just on a personal note, I find it really interesting that he's still around, and I think I've lost a bit of respect for him.
How so?
Seeing that he was the dude that stood for the truth and call out crap all the time, and he'd do it in front of everybody.
Like how?
I mean, I remember it. Well, one time I was at Powerhouse Retreat, and I remember him saying, "Oh, wouldn't you thank all the worship team? Thanks so much." And it was a terrible service, and he got them all to sit down, and now he got everyone to stand up, and he said, "Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to actually worship." He goes, "You don't need music. You don't need a clashing cymbals." It was an insult. It was the biggest insult. And I know where it was coming from. It was coming from this big hoo-ha show that they thought would be cool. And it was absolutely trash. And Robert knew it. And so he just pretty much taught everyone how you actually meant to worship.
And was that a positive thing, or was it just more kind of berating people and making them feel bad about themselves?
No. Oh, look, I think the team would have felt bad, but look, they should have, because they were putting on a show. But he did it in a very justice-driven way, and I laughed, but I loved it. I thought it was exactly what they needed, a bit of humble pie.
Certainly been around for a very long time with this gang, hasn't he?
Yeah, I just that's just my little side note. But he has been significantly involved. I don't think most of the students really had any interactions with him as a teacher until you really hit third year, and then fourth year as well.
So he's the main lecturer there. He's the
He's registered as one of the staff in the teaching staff of Alfred Crucis. But look, this is prior to COVID, so I'm not sure what he's resigned from. Yeah, I know he was asked to be a mentor or guide or whatever, mediator for a lot of the staff overseas. I heard that during COVID he was doing American Zoom calls to couples and staff members.
I mean, it's so hard to keep up with these guys and where they go. So, or who's resigned or who was pushed. I mean, you look at the board and I think we should add, by the way, that Dr. Crouch actually has I think he's got an MBA or something like his.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, an actual degree that someone could call themselves having a doctorate, not because a lot of these guys have got those, Brian's got an honorary doctorate somewhere. And
but we all know what an honorary doctorate is. It's a university who's decided they're going to reward his accolades and acknowledge his contribution to a particular field. He got it from an American university, which I find funny too.
Right.
But and I heard that Darlene just got one as well. Darlene Check.
Oh, as what?
She got a doctorate too. I don't know what.
Dr. Darlene.
Yeah, but again, it's an honorary doctorate. It's not universally recognised. I don't think there's got to be some rules attached to being able to claim that.
So if she's we're closer to the UN. I mean, Bill Cosby had an honorary doctorate at some point, if that gives you
Did he?
an idea. Yeah.
Oh, I also heard that London's been suffering big time, and they're down from about, I've heard the numbers were pretty shocking. It was about 800 people on a Sunday. It's down from 8,000 in London.
That actually was so interesting about the college, from what I've been told. And I mean, there's just so much info all the time now. They haven't really found a venue in the States because, they parted ways with the people in Phoenix, and they've moved the college in the States to Orange County. Did you know that?
They've moved the college to OC. Okay, interesting.
OC, because there've been quite a number of property purchases made right there. I mean, so they haven't found a venue, the fall semester or however it works is coming up, late August, September. They're not ready. They're not ready. You'd almost wonder if they could run the thing now out of one of their properties they've bought, just run the college off somebody's phone and hire a hall. And it's a problem. So the first thing you do after you get the keys to your church is open a Bible college, because that's where your tax breaks start. You
I was going to
everything through college. Cars.
Yeah, I was going to say
everything.
it's the big money maker.
So, I know they've got a lot of music to rest on, but if they haven't got people turning up to services and the college is just not happening, then what?
Well, a little bit of, did you know Hillsong United is a completely separate entity to Hillsong Church now?
Okay, so elaborate.
Like they are their own.
What was
I
it
guess
like?
you could say music group, music business, separate to the church.
What was it before?
Well, it was part of church. It was an expression of church.
Okay.
It was the young adults youth worship.
Because this independent label thing that we were talking about before that Joel had started seems to all be happening in Orange County. So there's like Brian's got a place, Joel's got a place, Brooke's got a studio, all in this same little compound. And so they're setting up big there. They've just bought a $7 million property there as well. It looks like somebody's not taking their charges very seriously and expects to just kind of kick back in Newport.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're up to a lot of things behind the scenes that, I don't know if you were aware, because I know you have got other things to do in life, but the Swedish pastor had dinner with Jordan Peterson. And regardless of anybody's feelings about anybody, Jordan Peterson campaigned for a very long time that he was this kind of neutral ethicist that just wanted people to take responsibility for life and find their own purpose and get on with it. And then he became ill and he was off the scene for about a year, and he's come back with a really strong pro-Christian message. And yeah, I'm wondering, there's work that's got to be done and everybody's looking around for some promotion. It would be an interesting meeting of the minds, Brian's not there anymore. So people in Sweden can maybe form the partnerships they want. It's going to be interesting times. And Chris Kane was there not long after. And there's been a lot going on in Europe. Where's Brian at the moment? Where are they?
I don't know.
Two lovebirds.
I've got no clue. Are they frolicking in Europe or?
Well, barely saw them kind of, that close. Suddenly, it's like a second honeymoon for those two. They're so in love in every post. Although, what was Brian doing this week? Hiding behind flowers. What?
Yeah, it was. Feels like a lot of clickbait, to be honest. It feels weird.
That post?
Yeah, like you just see just a silly post from now and then. Remember the yellow scooter, like, oh, how good is it that I've got friends? I don't need to sign anything. They just trust me. I'm like, what? Like, why are you?
He
why are you bragging about
breaking the rules?
Yeah, I mean, who brags about it? It's probably a cheap, €10 a day kind of hire. Like, it was a little moped, and he took this photo, and he was sitting on it, and he just said something about how good is it that I have friends who know and trust me, and they always look after me whenever I come back. I was imagining it was Italy, and said that, his friend who owns a scooter, he doesn't ever have to sign anything. He just goes on it.
So he's broken the rules, the road rules of that country, and he's so impressed with his own kind of status that it doesn't cross his mind that he's broken the law, and that's bad in itself. Even if you've got mates that'll like take care of it, it's just oh man. So this week he's got crouching behind some flowers, and he's written hiding from the paparazzi.
Yes, I couldn't remember what he said. It was funny though. I mean, we had a chuckle.
It's just
But also, what are you doing?
I wonder what Dr. Darlene would say about that.
I don't know. Yeah, it was hiding from the paparazzi. He had like a knife in his hand, and he's hiding behind the flowers that were on the table. I don't know. A lot of people wrote a lot of funny things.
Look, there's still a lot of strong support in the comments.
There definitely is. I mean, there's a big pro Brian community out there. People wrote that you haven't lost your sense of humor. Great mighty man of God.
Humor? He's deranged.
Yeah, I like the butter knife Brian. Always prepared. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
And then there was another, like a little video clip he did where he was just talking like this. And it was like he's really trying
That's a good version.
Trying to get through and just find. And it's like, and I watched it and I said to a friend of mine, like, he's not good. Then kind of 10 minutes later, it hit me and I was like, that's a complete act. That's for everyone to feel sorry for him. It's just manipulation after manipulation. And then they turned up 2 weeks early. They'd been overseas and they came back to Australia, turned up 2 weeks earlier than had been expected, and plonked themselves in the seats at Hills for a service. Did you know? Did you know that?
No.
Oh yeah. And yeah, a lot of people didn't know what to make of it exactly. Like they're just sitting there, Joni and Chachi. And another thing that I realized these guys are really good at their own business is, for me, I feel like I'm naive, start all over again, but it's been April to May to June. So it's been about 4 months since they left or Brian resigned or whatever happened. And it was all due to, there was that staff meeting and Phil had to tell everybody that there'd been these incidents where women had complained about inappropriate behaviour from the global senior pastor, Brian Houston. And there'd been an incident 10 years ago, and there'd been an incident in 2019. And the incident in 2019 involved Brian going into a hotel room, apparently intoxicated, and spending 40 minutes in a hotel room with a woman that is not Bobby. Yet both parties, as Phil explained, do not have a recollection of what took place in those 40 minutes. Now, naively, as I tell you, I thought that people would want answers. And it's been nearly 4 months and there's been no demand for answers. I don't know. I'm not on the ground there. But, there's no kind of major revolution in that place to demand to know what happened in that 40 minutes. Was it legal? Was it illegal? Were they having drinking games? Were they gambling? Were they, was it a Scrabble championship? Don't people want to know?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I keep thinking about that too.
It's of course they don't. We've been taught the whole time, you've got to forgive. It's been long-term grooming, instant forgiveness, instant loyalty, instant none of my business. I watched it with, Pat Massetti back in the day, Mike Guglielmucci, so many of them, pray for that person, mind your own business, who are you to judge, all of that kind of stuff. And these guys know it. They know it. And they just have to keep saying the same stuff, really vague, non-committal. We love you, though. And time has passed. And, yeah, people are just going to think, oh, well, that was a long time ago. And it's old news. And Phil's been here a long time.
Oh, look, it's never old news when, something that scandal kind of, being so scandalous in nature will just immediately plaster all over the news again and get rehashed a million times. So
they've done a great job. They know their audience, and no one's going to fight and stomp. And I mean,
well, everyone's on that positive, strengths-based thing, aren't we, at the moment? It's like silence the beast and use a strengths-based approach. It's like the abuser. It's like, oh, yeah, but they're working on things and they're taking a break and we don't need to get into the itty-bitty of their lives. We just trust that the people who are keeping him accountable have done so, et cetera, et cetera. Don't tell us more terrible news, I guess, in some way. I think the people who want to know, we're not probably jumping up and down enough to force their hand at it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not standing on every, moral soapbox in the country, but in light of the Me Too movement, you'd never have a CEO go uninvestigated if these were the strengths of the allegations and he made payments out of his own pocket. And, there was a lot to this.